So the core difference between VTWriter, which is a VisibleThread writing assistant, versus Grammarly or products like Grammarly, really boils down to three different things. The first is that our focus, our emphasis, isn't really on grammar. Yeah, sure, we check for grammar. Who doesn't? But it's really around the clarity of communication in your content. Are you communicating clearly? And what we're doing within the product is that we're scoring every paragraph in every doc or every piece of text to show both good and bad clarity. How do we do that? So we're using grade level, which is a very well understood mechanism for assessing clarity. It's a proxy for complexity to score every paragraph. And that's both the good and bad paragraphs. So if I see a grade level of 12.3, that means it's likely not going to land if I'm trying to communicate with a person who doesn't have a second or a third level of education, or perhaps has some disability, or doesn't have English as a first language. All good. The important point about scoring every paragraph is that it means that I, as a writer, can actually focus on the areas that need some help and maybe not so much focus on the areas that are actually tight and clear and well understood. That's cool. Another factor around this approach is that the way we write is actually different. And actually, when you're being interrupted by kind of suggested changes or grammar changes, that's not how most people write. What they do is they want to kind of get their thoughts on paper, create a first draft. And then when they're good and ready, they want to click a button and say, okay, now give me my scores. Now help me polish this, make it better. And what products like Grammarly tend to do is that they tend to interrupt too much. I'm not ready for that stuff yet. I'm only getting my thoughts in line. I'm putting the outline there. I'm putting the paragraphs in play. So it can get in the way of a natural writing process. So that's point number one. Point number two is really important. Grammarly and products like that are available in the public cloud, and that's great for a lot of situations. But when you're dealing in sectors like defense and space, IT services, financial services, etc., sectors that are either heavily regulated or that have really important content floating around, the last thing you want and the last thing your information security people want is for that content to go to the cloud. So it's really important that VTWriter is available for private cloud scenarios or in an on-premise setting. Being able to score this really important content, being 100% secure that none of this will go outside your firewall. That's just the cost of admission, that you have to have that. And this is the reason why a lot of our customers won't use Grammarly, can't use it, will get shut down by InfoSec if they use it, is because of that simple fact that we can deploy behind the firewall. The third and final area that's really important is that, okay, so we've got, in the case of Sun Life, for instance, when a very good customer, VisibleThread, over 6,000 users using VTWriter. These people are not in comms teams. They're not in marketing teams. These people are in HR teams, ops teams, finance teams, all over the place, engineering teams, all over. And what they're doing is that they are self-scoring their own content. And that's interesting because that self-scoring, when you put it all together, you have a massive insight into how these teams are working. And a team who's producing content destined for an audience that's, for instance, a consumer versus a business audience versus a subject matter expert audience, they have different levels of quality benchmarks and goals that they're looking to get to. So visibility in terms of VT Insights, which is a layer on top of VTWriter that shows how teams are doing, grade level they're scoring at, what kind of improvement they're getting. Because again, coming back to my first point, the benefit of actually being able to tell the system when to analyze as opposed to get automatic suggestions means that you can track changes. And at the overall enterprise level, if you can track improvement, that is great for all teams. Everybody wants to be told that they're improving. And in fact, if people are disimproving, that's equally useful as an insight because you can go to that team and say, hey guys, your grade level has kind of gone down a little bit here. Maybe we can help you out. Maybe we can understand better techniques for writing. Maybe there's some work we can do around kind of the value of writing in clearer and plainer language. So collectively, these 3 points, scoring every paragraph, not being interrupt driven, being driven by checking a box or checking a button and actually getting a result, the ability to deploy this into highly secure environments, and finally, the overall insights that you can get from dashboards that show you how your teams are doing and how the C-suite can get that insight is really the major difference between ourselves and a product like Grammarly.